we're live. I have our little karaoke machine down here. Ignore that. I am going to turn the lights on this off. Because lights are annoying me. So, we're going to read some stories off of Scary for Kids. I'm going to start off with telling you the website's called Scary for Kids. Hello. I'm going to trade the positions in which the laptops are in. Oh, you guys are going to be over here. Push you over. So the lighting's good. Turn down the mic volume so that you can't hear it, or turn it off in general. Okay, so scarystoriesforkids.com is where I'm getting all my scary stories. I had to turn that off. Okay, I have to relook it up. So we're going to read a bunch of scary stories today, and this should be fun. You guys seem to like the scary stories, so I'm going to keep bringing scary stories. Hello. So, I got to get into here, figure out which stories we're going to read first. I just go into scary stories. Click the first ones I haven't read yet. Do you guys like urban legends? There's American urban legends and then there's Japanese urban legends, but I find Japanese urban legends much scarier and creepier compared to American creepy urban legends. For some reason, the Japanese know how to scare the hell out of people and know how to get to them on a psychological level. So, I'm going to read those. Okay, I'm going to put this up here. Okay. I want to read stories I have not read yet. And I will know if I've read them. I remember somewhat. I think I tried to read this one. I don't know if I might have. This one. I'm not sure how you pronounce her name. But, Kushisaki Una? I'm going to ask May. May! I'll be back. Hey, I have a question for you. The name of the slip-mouth woman, how do you pronounce her name? Is it Hirosaki Una? Hirosaki Una? Can you come look? I tried asking her, but she doesn't understand what I'm saying. Right there.
What?
That name.
Oh. Kuchisake Onna.
Kuchisaki Onna.
Kuchisake Onna.
Kushisaki?
Ku.
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 We're saying the same thing.
Ku. Ku.
Ku.
Chi.
Chi.
Sa.
Sa.
Ke.
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 Kind of like kit. Like a kit.
Ke.
Like an end kit.
Ke.
Ke. Onna.
Onna. AKA the split-mouth woman.
You get there.
I'll get there. She's learning Japanese, so she can pronounce them a lot better.
Not too strongly, but still.
Yeah, thank you. She's better at pronouncing Japanese things than I am. She's the person to go to, especially when I'm doing these. She knows exactly how to pronounce them. Even though it's strong for her, she says them strong, which, like she just said. But she's better at it than I am. I have no experience with Japanese. She's learning it. So, she's a lot better than me. Okay, so the slip-mouth woman. That's her name. That's what we're calling her. That's her other name. It's a scary Japanese urban legend about a disfigured Japanese woman who brandishes a large pair of scissors and preys on children. She has an enormous slit mouth, which extends from ear to ear in a horrible permanent smile. The slit-mouth woman walks the streets of Japan wearing a surgical mask. You'd never be able to tell the difference. We're all wearing masks now. And hunting for children. If you cross her path, she will stop you and ask you a question. If you get it wrong, there are horrible consequences. Picture the scene. You're walking home from school and you take a path that takes you down a deserted city street. Lovely. Suddenly, you hear a faint noise coming from the shadows. You glance over and you see a beautiful woman standing there. She has long black hair and is wearing a beige trench coat. If May wore a beige trench coat, I would assume May is the slip mouth woman. She has long black hair. Okay. And a surgical mask. Yeah. Surgical mask that covers her lower half of her face. Like everyone covers this part of your face. And in Japan, wearing a surgical mask is not common unless during flu season. Not now. Preventing the spread of germs. She'll step and block your path. She'll ask you, "Am I beautiful?" Before you can answer, she tears off her mask, revealing a hideous, deformed face. Her huge mouth is sliced from ear to ear and gapes open, revealing a huge row of sharp teeth and a big, disgusting red tongue, and starts twisting it. Ew, it's weird. She'll ask you, "Is she still beautiful?" Terrified, you suggest answer. You struggle to answer her, and if you answer yes, no, it's no first. If you answer no, she'll pull out a pair of scissors and kill you immediately, chopping off your head. If you say yes, she takes her scissors and slits your mouth from ear to ear. Just because someone says yes doesn't mean they want to look like you. But anyway, if you try to run away, she will hunt you down and kill you and slice you in two. The other way you can escape from her, though, is to give a non-committal answer. If she asks you, just say, "You look average," or "You look normal." And she will be confused, giving you enough time to run away. But even if you run away, can't she still follow you? Just saying. Okay. That's annoying me. I have to move that. I can see it in the camera. It's annoying me. This is my sister's stuff. But I don't care. I'll put it in the tote that's here. You can't see the mess that's on the floor. I'm definitely cleaning this after I'm done. Done close. Okay, I'm gonna push it over here. Scooch my chair over here. That was for nothing. But, you know, don't care. Don't care. There are many rumors that she got her horrible disfigured mouth. Some on how she got it. Some say that the result was of plastic surgery. One legend many years ago in Japan lived a beautiful woman who was extremely vain and self-absorbed. Her husband got very jealous and was a brutal man, and he became convinced that she was cheating on him. In a fit of rage, he took his sword and slit her mouth from ear to ear and yells at her, "Who do you think will think you're beautiful now?" Hence the reason she asked the question. She becomes a vengeful spirit wandering the streets of Japan, wearing a surgical mask to hide her terrible scars. Oh my word. The US has their own version of the slit-mouth woman. The rumors are about a clown who appears in public bathrooms and looks for children asking, "Do you want death or happy smile?" If you choose happy smile, he will slit your mouth from ear to ear. If you say death, he will kill you. Wonderful. Clowns are creepy anyway. I've read most of these. And I don't want to read them again. By most of them, I mean almost all of them. So, who wants to read some scary riddles? Let's do that. There's stories. Oh, they have scary bedtime stories. I'll open that different tab. And we'll read riddles here. If I find the riddle stupid, I'm going to stop. Okay, this one says riddles for adults, hard riddles, mind puzzles, tricky riddles, difficult riddles, creepy riddles, mind teasers, ghost sightings. Riddles for kids, psychic ability, bodies in the well, older brother, baby sister, Nana, house fire, physical readings, psychic readings, not happening. Baby handbag, roses and violets and leash. Okay, I'm gonna click on brain teasers. Okay, this one's called Alone in the House. I was really scared last night after I read a creepy story on this website I always visit. What made it worse that my parents were always away, so I was alone in the house. I switched on all the lights and in my room and to the hall leading to the bathroom. That calmed me down a little. To be honest, when I'm in the dark, I turn on all the lights on my way down, turn them all back off on the way back up. Everything's upstairs, and then everything's downstairs, and then the bedrooms are upstairs. That's what I meant to say. Well, anyway, the only scary thing that happened was when I finished showering and went back to my room. I switched on the lights, and at that exact moment, my handbag fell off the chair, and that made me jump. Oh. Okay, me and May were watching this movie called Terrifier last year. And anyone who doesn't know, Terrifier is a movie about this creepy clown, and it's Halloween night, and these two girls, see him, and he kills people, and he eats them. So, yeah, anyway, me and May had a bag of chips sitting on the end of my bed. The movie wasn't scaring us, but that bag of chips fell. The second a jump scare came, and the fact that the jump scare came is what freaked the hell out of us, because our chips fell at the exact moment, and it sounded like the boom was in our room, my room, which was in there at the moment. And I swear, May jumped into my lap, and I held her. And we were scared. Like, it scared the hell out of us. But it was just a bag of chips. I understand that. That's why you don't read at night. Some of these aren't scary. A lot of these are just dark. So we're gonna look at bedtime stories. Go to sleep. That sounds like Jeff the Killer. Go to Sleep is a scary story about a boy who is afraid to go to bed because he fears something evil is lurking in his bedroom. It is based off a short story by Michael Whitehouse. Okay. For a tired child, bedtime is always the happiest and relaxing event when they relax and drift into a restful slumber. Some children complain to their parents who force them to go to sleep before their bedtime. But for this person, bedtime was always fearful and terrifying, and they dreaded it. Their fear of sleeping began when they were 8 and their parents moved them into their own bedroom, a small narrow room in the back of the house, just large enough for a bunk bed and a chest of drawers. Hi. They had to be on the top bunk. Trying to fall asleep, they heard a noise, but they couldn't be sure something would. But it seemed to be coming from the bottom bunk. Do you know have someone on the bottom bunk? We had bunk beds in our apartment, and we always had someone under our bunk bed. I slept on the bottom, Cam slept on the top bunk. I hated heights, so I wouldn't sleep on the top bunk. Anyway, the room was pitch black and curtains on the windows let in just enough light to make out a vague shape in the dark. At first, they weren't sure what the noise was. Something like the simplest sound could make them feel unnerved. And when they listened closely, they realized it was an unmistakable sound of bed sheets rustling in the dark. It literally says sound of twice. It was the sound of bed sheets. The sound of bed sheets is what it should be. Or it's the unmistakable sound of bed sheets rustling in the dark. Okay. The bottom bunk was empty, but when they peered over their bed, they thought they saw something out of the corner of their eye. They laid there in disbelief. Fear gripped their heart as a terrible shaking feeling was in the pit of their stomach, and their pulse started racing. They broke out in a cold sweat. They could hear the sheets thrashing, which that's creepy, especially if no one's supposed to be on the bottom bunk. Suddenly, the bunk band? There's a band on the bunk beds. Okay. Anyway. Began to rattle violently. They felt something. Imagine that something was pulling them under the bunk. The door finally burst open and the mother came in and they were crying. She laid on the empty bunk and promised to stay there until morning. Eventually, they fell asleep. The next morning, they played in the backyard and kept glancing up to their bedroom window. Each time, a chill ran down their spine and the hair stood up on the back of their neck. And they felt something was lurking in their room, watching them play and waiting for them for the next night. And they couldn't be sure what it was. What happened? Okay, that night they managed to fall asleep, but something woke them up. The room was pitch black and there was no noise. No rustling sheets, no movement at all. However, something didn't feel right. Just then, they felt the covers on their bed begin to move. The horrifying truth dawned near them. The wretched thing that terrorized him night after night was not on the bottom bunk. It was in their bed. Oh, that's weird. They opened their mouth and tried to scream, but they couldn't. Their eyes were wide with terror as they laid motionless, barely able to breathe. They didn't want to let it know that they were awake. So they laid there motionless, barely able to breathe. Oh, wait, I read the same thing twice. They could feel them lying beside them. That's creepy. Okay. They could see the outline but didn't dare to look. All of a sudden, it rolled over and pressed its weight against their chest. That is scary. Hours passed as they laid there motionless in the darkness, too afraid to move a muscle. They wanted to cry, but no tears came out, and finally they reached a breaking point and couldn't bear it any longer. Ever so slowly, they eased themselves out from under it by a inch by painstaking inch. They shifted their weight and moved sideways. Just as they were about to escape, it moved. They calmly, they're clammy, had a clammy feeling, felt a words. Okay. They felt a clammy hand reach across their chest, close to their throat, and it grasped tightly. And they felt the squeezing on their neck. The horrid, slimy thing began to contort under the blanket, and they could hear it wheezing and rasping and coughing. Okay, it began to breathe against their face, and they were cold as ice. Dawn was breaking, and the first ray of sunshine was peeking through the window, and they fought for dear life, but there was no match. As the scrawny fingers were squeezing their neck, it ended up in felt like they were embedding their fingers into their skin. Oh, this is weird. This is a bedtime story. This is not bedtime story. Not a bedtime story. Scary children. If you don't want them to go to sleep, I mean. Okay. They tumbled off the bed and scrambled out of the room. When they got downstairs, they breathed a sigh of relief. They survived a horrifying experience. To this day, they still break a cold sweat with the sound of rustling sheets at night. Here's something. If you move on your own bed, you rustle the sheets. Does that scare you? I mean, that would be scary as all hell. But my little sister climbs in my bed all the time, so something like that. Every time I saw like someone was next to me, I can just think of my sister. That's all I can think of. Okay. One, I'm 100% sure I've read most of these stories. Whether on camera or off camera, I need to find new stories. So what we're going to do. to look through. Scary stories to tell. That's this actual book for scary stories. Okay. Mm. Top 10 scary stories to tell kids. Alright, this one's called The Statue. Live streaming is going well. So this one's called The Clown Statue. A girl in her teens babysat a wealthy family one night. The wealthy family had a very large house and many rooms. It was filled with a lot of artifacts, old ornaments from all over the world. As the parents were leaving to go out, the father told the girl once she put the kids down, she must go to the basement, watch TV there, and not go wandering the house. That's an odd request. But I mean, if you don't want someone in your house, that might make sense. But that's still such a weird and specific request. I mean, you want to make sure they're not taking anything. I mean, that if you're that afraid of something, maybe install some cameras. If you're a wealthy family, I'm 100% sure you can afford nice cameras to watch over your house too when you have a babysitter over. But that's just my opinion. I like to make stories logical, even though they don't need to be. Okay, once the kid was asleep, the girl retired to the basement and watched TV. However, she could not concentrate on the show because in the corner of the room was a life-size clown statue grinning at her. She decided to drape a blanket over the statue so she could ignore it. After a while, she couldn't stand the look of the clown statue's oversized feet sticking out from under the blanket. She decided to call the father and ask permission to watch TV in another room because the statue freaked her out. "Listen carefully," said the man. "Our children have been complaining about a clown that comes into their room in the middle of the night. We thought it was their nightmares because we don't own a clown statue. You need to get the kids and get out of there now. I will call the police." The girl hangs up the phone and turned around to the clown statue, but there was just a blanket on the floor, and she hears steps coming down the basement stairs. Is it a stalker? Is it a creep? Is it a murderer? I mean, if the kids were complaining for weeks, could have been just waiting to strike. So, yeah, that one's just creepy in general. Okay, this next story is called Hide and Seek. Two young brothers were at home alone in their apartment while their parents visited the next door neighbors for a while. "Be good boys," the parents said. To keep themselves occupied, the boys decided to play a game of hide and seek. The older boy turned his head to the wall and began to count. He could hear his little brother's feet as he scampered through, trying to find a place to hide. "Ready or not, here I comes," cried the older one. Off he went to look for his brother. He looked in the usual places behind the sofa, in the bathroom behind the shower curtain, behind the curtains in every room, and under all the beds, but he couldn't find him. And the apartment was eerily silent. Then he heard scraping sound coming from the wardrobe. The boy was sure he'd already looked there, but when he went calling out, "Come out, I found you," there was silence. Again, he called for his brother to come out again. Opening the door, the boy tried peering behind the wall where the dresses and the coats were hanging. He bent down, but he didn't see any feet. Standing there, he began to rise up and put his head to the mass of clothing to feel for his brother. when a small, white, icy hand came out, grabbing his wrist and tried to pull him in the closet. As he pulled himself free, he hears a noise from behind him, looks over his shoulder, and sees his brother behind him. "Couldn't you find me?" he asked. The older brother screams in fright and desperately tries to free himself from the grip of the hand, all the while being pulled into the dresser. The younger brother grabs him, and together they pulled and managed to get him free. They ran screaming out of the apartment. No one knows what would have happened if the hand had managed to pull him in. Do you? Hello. This next one is called The Flying Dutchman, and when I hear this, does anyone else think of SpongeBob? The Flying Dutchman from SpongeBob? Because anytime I hear The Flying Dutchman, that's all I can think of. And I can only think of that episode where he's trying to get SpongeBob and Patrick to scare people, and they're making everyone else laugh, and the Dutchman gets so mad at them. And he's all like, "You guys are going to be ghosts." I love that one. I love that episode. Okay. So The Flying Dutchman is an old legend and a famous scary story. There was even movies based upon the legend in the 1950s. Yeah. Some versions of the Dutchman say he sails at sea until he finds the love of a good woman. The legend of the Flying Dutchman began in 1641 when the Dutch ship sank off the coast of the Cape of Good Hope. The captain, a Dutchman named Vanderdecken. I'm never going to pronounce the names right. Failed to notice a dark cloud looming. Only when he heard the lookout scream out in terror when he realized that he had sailed straight into a fierce storm. The captain and his crew battled for hours to get out of the storm. At that point, it seemed like they would make it. Then they heard a sickening crunch. The ship had hit a treacherous rock and began to sink. As the ship plunged downwards, oh, that's my spot. Captain Vanderdecken, I said Ducken. He's a duck now. It's fine. Vanderdecken knew that death was approaching. He was not ready to die and screamed out a curse. "I will round this cape, even if I have to keep sailing until the end of time." So even today, when the storms brew off the Cape of Good Hope, if you look into the eyes of the storm, you'll be able to see the ship and its captain, the Flying Dutchman. Okay, the legend goes that whoever sees the ship will die a terrible death. That's lovely. Many people have claimed to see the Flying Dutchman, including a crew of German submarine boat in World War II. On the 11th of July, 1881, the Royal Navy ship, the Bacchante, heck if I can pronounce it, was rounding the tip of Africa when they were confronted with the sight of the Flying Dutchman. The midshipman, a prince who later became King George V, recorded the lookout man and the officer of the watch had seen the Flying Dutchman, and he used the words to describe the ship. A strange red light of a phantom ship glue, in the midst of which lit the mast, spears, and sails of a brig 200 yards distant stood in strong relief. It is a pity that the lookout saw the Flying Dutchman, for soon after the same trip, he accidentally fell from the mast and died. Fortunately for the royal family, the young midship survived, and the curse to become the King of England. That's great. Okay, this next story is called The Vanishing Hiker. This should be fun. The urban legend appears in many forms in different parts of the country. Resurrection Mary is one of the most famous and is associated with the southwest suburbs of Chicago and Resurrection Cemetery, which tells the story as if it happened to a personal friend. Okay, so this is the point of view of someone else. So, their Uncle Joe was driving late one night when he picked up a pretty girl hitchhiking in a white dress. The girl was very nice and they had a good conversation. He drove her home and dropped her off at her house. The next day, he realized she left her sweater in his car, decided to drop the sweater off at the house. When he rang the doorbell, an old lady answered the door. He tells her his story, and she tells him he must have been mistaken. Her daughter died in a car accident after a night of dancing many years ago. I've heard a story similar to this. And yeah, I've heard that before. Oh my word. And in different variations of the story, the hitchhiker never gets home. She mysteriously vanishes from the car as they pass the cemetery gates. That's creepy. Oh, this one's called The Big Toe. Okay, this one says this one's not too scary for young children and can actually be quite funny. This is a traditional Southern tale that should be told in a serious tone. I'm not a serious person. So if it's going to get funny, I'm going to laugh. Okay. A woman is gardening when she digs up a big hairy toe. A toe. What? I'd be disturbed. She brings it into her house and puts it in a jar. When she goes to bed that night, she hears the wind groaning, and then she hears someone say, "Where's my hairy toe?" Wait, you found someone's toe in your garden and you put it in a jar? One, shame on you. Shame on you for taking their toe. You deserve to be haunted by whoever's toe that is. She keeps further down, further under the covers as the house creaks and cracks. She hears again, "Where is my hairy toe?" Okay. Have any of you seen Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, the movie based off the book? There's a story in there, and it's like the same thing, except there's a leper, and I don't think I finished reading this. So we're going to keep going. But they do the same thing here, and that's all I can think of is that one scene from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Okay, she creeps further under the covers and hears again, "Where's my hairy toe?" Continue the story as long as you wish. There are more details, noises in the house, and repeating the question, "Where's my hairy toe?" Finally, someone says, "Where's my hairy toe?" And you need to say it in a low, menacing voice. I can't do that because I'm not that serious. And then you tell someone you've got it, and the following stories are a bit larger. Oh, is this a big story? It's a bigger story. Okay. I got this off a website called icebreakersideas.com because I've read most of the ones on Scary for Kids, and mostly it's just repeating those stories. I could go back and read those because I think there's a few I haven't read. But this next one is called The Lady with the Emerald Ring. Okay. A rich man's wife became deadly ill the night before Christmas in 1798. So he called for a doctor. By the time the doctor arrived, the wife died, or so it seemed. Her husband was so grief-stricken that he locked himself in his room and did not attend the funeral the next day. I get people grieve in different ways, but if I lost my spouse, I would go to their funeral. The servants of the house carried the rich woman's body to the vicar, who in a drunken stupor. What does stupor mean? I'm going to look it up. A state of near unconsciousness or insensibility. Or basically just meaning you're intoxicated. So the vicar was drunk. Held the ceremony quickly. The veil was drawn across her face, the stone lid lowered, and an iron grill locked. What the hell is that?
Yo, I know you're live streaming. But
Yeah.
okay, so Lily watches a lot of Hamilton on my tablet, right? So I have this one little like category thing that says Philippa Sue. And you will never believe whose video is on there.
Who?
You.
What? Show the world. Can you see that? I am there. Anyone who doesn't know who Philippa Sue is, she plays Eliza in the Hamilton Broadway show. and she does a lot of Broadway shows. She's awesome.
Thanks, have fun.
Thank you. Okay, so an iron grill is basically an open grate of iron. I had to look it up. Or wood, forming a screen to a door, window, or other openings, or used as a divider. And it's also something in front of a motor vehicle. You heard Hamilton? Yeah, Cam was talking about she has this category of Hamilton on her YouTube because Lillian, our little sister, likes to watch a lot of Hamilton. And I was the third one in the category for Philippa Sue because we did a cover of Helpless. And that's what she put her tablet up to the screen for because we were third. And I think that's awesome. I think that's cool. Yes, it is. Yes, I'm excited about that. I actually think that's super cool and I'm super excited now. Okay, wait, these stories are supposed to be serious and she just hyped me up for no reason. Okay, the iron grill locked. We're going to get back to the story. Just before the clergyman fell asleep later that night, he remembered the beautiful ring on the finger of the woman. If he grabs that woman's ring, I'm going to be very upset. Okay. Wanting the ring and thinking no one would be able to find out, he went downstairs, unlocked the lid, opened it, and tried to pry off the ring, but it wouldn't budge. Sicko. Okay. And it wouldn't budge. He ran back and brought back a file to cut the ring off her finger. When it didn't work, he severed off her finger. Don't sever someone's finger, even if they're dead. That's not right. Ew, that's gross. It's so gross. Okay. He dropped the ring and ran. The woman awoke and held her severed finger towards him with an evil smile on her face. Oh my gosh, that's creepy. She had nothing on but a silk dress. The woman walked back to her home, knocked on the door, and rang the bell, but to no avail. The servants had gone to sleep, for it was late on Christmas Eve. She lifted a heavy stone and threw it at her husband's window and waited. He came to the window, and with a sorrowful look on his face, suddenly, to her surprise, he yelled, "Go away, you must want to torture me. Don't you know my wife is dead? Let me mourn her and do not bother me again." Aww. With that, he shut the door, and he didn't realize it was his wife who had been throwing the rock at the window. She repeated her actions again, throwing the rock at the window. He opened the window again, and she yelled at him, "I am no one but your so-called dead wife. Now come down here, open this door, unless you like me to die a second time on your doorstep." Eat the finger. Oh my gosh, that's... his reply to her was, "You're a ghost then." She said, "No, for ghosts don't bleed. Now come down here before I catch my own death of a cold." The man was joyous and the look on his face to meet his wife, and he took her inside where they called the doctor and told him the news. Meanwhile, the clergyman ran home, up the stairs in a state of fright, and got rid of himself. That's how we're going to word it. She had not died after all, but had gone into a coma. When he cut off her finger, the pain woke her up. If you're in a coma, you breathe, right? People breathe when they're in a coma. Do they? No, you have to. No, there's no way they thought she was dead. Either that doctor's really... Yeah, see, that's what I thought. People breathe when they're in a coma, so they shouldn't have been like, she's dead, unless someone really didn't like her and wanted her to die. But I know, this story just confused me, because if she was in a coma... We're going to Google something. It seems... I was going to be like, yeah, I'm searching too. I'm not the only one that's looked that up. Someone in a coma will have reduced reduced basic reflexes such as coughing and a hard time swallowing. They might be able to breathe on their own, although some people require a machine to help them breathe. Other times, a person may start to gradually regain consciousness and become more aware. So, yeah, she could breathe. There would have been signs if she was dying. Okay. So, that didn't make sense. And they say usually a coma doesn't last for more than a few weeks. But sometimes people are in comas for years. And will be able to breathe. So yes, she could breathe. So someone didn't want her around. I know, it's like visible confusion because they don't tell you that part. And she could breathe. Okay. So someone really didn't like her. Okay, this one is called The Long Dead Boy. Okay, long dead like a very long dead boy, or long dead like been dead for a very long time. Don't know. Figure it out. This is a long, scary story, I guess. It's not that long. It says it's long. I just scrolled down to the bottom of the story. Once upon a time, there was a 10-year-old girl who lived in London in a very old house. She hated the house. It was cold and damp all the time. Plus, none of her friends would visit because they believed, and was believed by everyone, that there was a ghost in the house. Apparently, people are scared of ghosts. The little girl was curious about the ghost, but no one would talk to her. When she asked a question about it or the history of this house, or the history of the house was scary, and some nights were worse than others. One night, she was in her room reading. The lamp turned off. She thought the light bulb had died. She didn't want to bother her mother, who was already sleeping, and ask for a new bulb, so she put down her book and prepared to sleep. All of a sudden, there was a quiet knocking on her window next to her bed. She saw the reflection of a boy about her age reflecting on the window's glass. That's creepy. Gonna bother your mother now? The girl turned around and looked in her room, but there was nothing. She got out of bed, went over to her lamp. She felt something wet on the ground. That's weird. She flicked on the lamp, but now it worked, and saw a red stain where she was standing. It disappeared. It wasn't blood because the red was too bright. It was almost pink, like paint. She scratched at the purple wall of her room, and to believe it or not, behind the purple paint was pink, the same dark shade that had been on the floor. The girl ran out of her room towards her parents' room, but then she saw something that made her scream. And nothing came out. The attic door above the staircase, which was really high up. Only her dad could reach it. Wait, what? I'm visibly confused. Wait a minute. The attic door was right above her staircase, really high up. Only her dad could reach it. She saw a rope. That's what I'm going to say. It's not her dad. Her dad's not there. She just saw a rope for hanging people. That's all it says. Like, the way they have that sentence built up, I got visibly confused. But we're good. She saw a rope. The girl ran back to her room, and there was a body in her bed. There wasn't a body in your bed before. I don't care if there's a rope in the attic. Our attic is a crawl space in Can's room. But I would go to my mom's room, and I'm going to be like, Mom, there's a body in my bed. Is the body alive? That's the question. Okay, she grabs her phone to take a picture. Wait, she's a phone. When does the story take place? Yeah, this escalated fast. Apparently she has a phone. I don't know what year this is set in, and it doesn't say either. She went to take a picture. She wanted proof. Something to know in the morning. She wanted to know in the morning if she saw was a dream or not. I could see that. If you see something weird, you're going to take a picture. But, I would still run to my mom's room. I mean, moms and dads are the safest people. You should be able to go to them and tell them, hey, there's a body in my bed. And have them run in there. She took a picture without looking at it, ran to get her mother. Yes, you should have done that to begin with. Not just sit there and take a picture. What if it was a murderer just sitting in her bed, waiting for her to come back? She would have been dead. You don't take a picture, you run to your parents. Grumpily, her mother came up the stairs. The girl pointed to where the rope had been, but now it was a piece of string from her mother's sewing kit. She led her mother up to a room to show her where the child's body was. Okay, they didn't mention that it was a child's body in the bed. They said it was a body. But it was a child. So, children are just as dangerous. As her mother was turning to leave, because she saw nothing, the girl remembered the camera. She grabbed it, turned it on, and showed her mother. There was no longer a picture of her bed. Except there was a picture of a teenage boy with a red mark on his neck and pink paint all over his clothes. Her mother told her to stop joking around. However, her mom had an extreme worried look on her face. When she asked what was wrong, she said, he's back. The girl never saw that boy again, and the mother refused to tell her who it was. The mother! Yeah, no. Long dead brother. Makes sense. He's been dead forever. It's probably her brother. That's how the story ends. The mother never tells her. But the story is called The Long Dead Brother. So, are we led to assume that that's the brother? I think that's what they're trying to make us do. Okay, this one's called The Piggyback Ride. Yeah, we're going to make everything scary, including a piggyback ride. A couple fought a great deal and finally started talking about getting a divorce. Possibly. Getting a divorce, that's the way to start a story. Divorce! However, the wife discovered she was pregnant, and for the sake of the baby, they decided to give their marriage another try. Okay. Why is that? Why is that? I feel like every time there's like going to be a divorce in a story or a movie, it's a baby that someone's having and they're like, we need to make this work for the kid. Is that like just the logical thing to do for a story? I mean, could have been anything. Maybe she said he could get a man cave that she never let him have. I don't know. And later on, she gave birth to a boy, and the family had a short period of tranquility. I'm 100% sure I know what that word is. I think it's calmness, right? Google it. Quality, a state of calmness. I was right. I mean, you'd want the kid to have a good future with both the parents. So yeah, that does make sense. But you could do anything for a story and that not fill in with the cliches of it's always the child. But I mean, if you want to write a story and get the point across quickly, I mean, yeah, that's something you could do on there because you figure parents do want the best for their kids. But one night when the boy was about 5 years old, we jumped 5 years. I thought they were going to make us watch the boy grow up. I'm just kidding. The couple put the boy into bed and then got into an enormous fight. In a fit of rage, the father put his hands around the mom's neck and choked the life out of her. Oh my gosh! Some future for that kid. His mom is dead now. Okay. I've heard a story similar to this. I know what happens. Yeah, that father is quite the jerk. Whether you're mad at someone or not, it's never a reason to touch them or hurt them in any way, shape, or form. Eventually, when he realized what he'd done, he panicked and he knew that he had to get rid of the body because he didn't want to get caught. He bundled the body into the boot of the car, which is a trunk for anyone who doesn't know what the boot of a car is. He slung his wife over his back as if he were giving her a piggyback ride. And the smell of her dead body and the swamp got onto his clothes. Ugh. Oh, he went home, took a shower to clean up, but he couldn't get rid of the foul stench. Sign 1. Something's wrong. The smell made him sick to his stomach. No matter how hard he would scrub, how often he showered, he couldn't get rid of the smell. For some reason, it felt like it always followed him. As the days passed, the boy became anxious for his mother and asked all kinds of questions. The father told the boy the mom had gone to stay with relatives. You are a terrible person. The smell remained. The man began to ignore it as much as he possibly could. One day, the man noticed his son looking at him in a strange way. His son approached him, and he recoiled in fear and would not touch the father. So the father walked up to the son. The son wanted nothing to do with him. I wouldn't want anything to do with you either, but he doesn't know he killed his mom. One day, he walked into his child's room when he was playing on the floor. Son, there seems to be something bothering you. If there's something bothering you, you can tell me. Yes, father. Is it about your mother? Yeah. What is it? Why is mom's face so pale? What do you mean? Why do you give her a piggyback ride all the time? Oh my gosh. So she died and hung on to the husband. That's lovely. That dude is such a jerk. Okay. This one's called The Hitchhiker, and this specifically says this is not suitable for younger children, but for older ones from ages 10 and up. So, if you're under 10, watch at your own risk. Make sure you use discretion on classic scary stories. Yeah, I just told you. So, we're going to read these at our own risk. It's probably not going to be scary. So, a recently married couple were on a long trip through the heart of the United States. One night it was raining hard and the headlights of the car flashed across a bearded man on the side of the road who was hitchhiking. Not usually one for picking up hitchhikers, the husband stopped and pulled over to offer the guy a ride. Because the weather was so bad, the man thanked the husband and climbed into the back of the car. He seemed agitated and edgy, barely speaking a word through the whole journey. Eventually, the couple dropped him off where he asked. He doesn't tell you where he says he wants to go, but we are led to assume at a crossroad. The rain was still coming down in sheets. Lovely. The couple drove for a good while, and past the time, the husband turned on the radio. The couple heard the news about an escaped lunatic. They picked up a lunatic, considered very dangerous, who should not be approached under any circumstances. The description matched their hitchhiker, and the couple looked at each other, clearly shocked but unhappy. But happy nothing bad had occurred. Oh my gosh. That if you saw that on the news and it doesn't even say that they called the police. But you hear that on the news, be like, oh, we picked up a guy with that description. He's here and here. Come get him. Okay. Just then the car gave out and no amount of using the keys in the ignition would start it up. The husband tells the wife to stay in the car while he sets off through the rain to try and get help. The woman locks the doors and wants to listen to the radio, but the car battery seems to die. Eventually, she dozes off. A while after, she wakes up seeing flashing police lights through the water coming down the windshield and a voice coming through the speaker. Lady, open the door, get out of your car, run towards us as fast as you can, do it now. The woman is confused, but she gets out of the car, puts her hands over her head, run, don't look back, which was said by one of the police officers. But the woman is curious, turns around, and in the flashing blue lights of the car and illuminated by flashes of lightning, she sees the top of the car where the hitchhiker had a machete and was hacking at the dismembered corpse of her husband Did he follow them? She screams and faints as a flurry of gunshots ring out. Whenever the occasion it. Blah, blah, blah. Then this is just at the end of the story. Someone puts this here. Whether the occasion is a campfire or a sleepover or a Halloween party, a scary story sets the stage for a fun time. Turn off the lights, set the stage, use your creepiest voice, and be prepared for a late night with little sleep. I can read scary stories and I sleep just fine. They told her not to look back. If a police officer is telling you that, I would run towards them and then look back. That's sad. I gotta find more scary stories. Okay. I think we're gonna go back to scary for kids. Look at scary stories. Try to find ones I haven't read before. This one says Halloween stories, but I think I read all of them. This one says ghost stories. Okay, do we want ghost stories, creepy stories, or short stories? Short, scary stories. So what do you guys want to say? Scary stories, short, they're all scary stories. Ghost stories, creepy stories, or short stories? I think I will read short, scary stories. If they get stupid, I'll turn them off. And we'll read through the other ones. This one's called The Bay Window. Ooh, I've seen this one. I haven't read it, but I've looked at it. The Bay Window is a scary tale about a young girl who sees something spooky when she's left home alone on a snowy winter's eve. Oh, I did, because I was all like, yeah. Never mind. I have read this one before, but I'm going to read it for anyone who doesn't know. I can't remember what I said about it. I've read this on another live stream, I think. One winter's night, a 16-year-old girl named Brittany Snow was home alone watching TV. Her parents had gone out to a dinner party, and it had been snowing heavily all afternoon. But Brittany felt nice and snug as she sat on the sofa in the lounge, tucked up under a warm, fuzzy blanket. Make note, there is a back door, and I've read this story. So you need to know this. There's a back door right off from the couch. So imagine this is the couch. That's the back door, and the front door's that way to a different room, and there's a bay window here. A window leading to the outside, so you can see back door, window, which is right in front of you that you can see out of. It's big window, and front door that way. That's important to note for later. By midnight, Brittany's parents were still not home. She began to feel uneasy. She wanted to call them, but in case they thought she wasn't able to take care of herself, she decided ultimately not to call them. If my parents are gone longer than what they say they'll be, I do call my parents. And I'm all like, where are you two? And they'll be like, oh, we got caught up talking in the store, or we're still shopping. It's not that your parents won't think you can't take care of yourself. It's nice to have consideration for your parents and worry about them.
Hey, boo.
Hey, dude. That's Elizabeth.
Hey, they put me up today.
Did you get into my makeup?
No, yeah, they paint.
Don't put paint on your eyes. Oh, dude. Okay. Why are you so out of breath? What did you do? Yellow. They say hello.
Tell the athletes on my eyes I have the yellow on them.
Go wash your face. She's paint on her eyeballs. Okay. Anyway, through the darkness of the falling show, she made out a figure. Falling snow, not falling show. Your show's falling, your television's going to the floor. I learned that from my sister, Steffi. This is a funny story before we finish this. My sister, Steffi, was in my mom and dad's room. And she was watching Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, and it was on our parents' television in her room. So, Steffi, while we were in the schoolroom, which is right next to mom and dad's room, making cards, Steffi drops something over, walks in, goes, the show fell. Kansas walked in to mom's room, and the television was on the floor and was broken. And our mom had to get a new one. She was not pleased about that, but after that we started laughing because the show fell. Okay, so anyway, this falling snow, she made out a figure of a man walking towards the window. As he got closer, she was able to make out the face, and it filled her with horror. The man's face was hideously scarred. Rest in peace, the TV. Yeah. Her eyes were wild and crazy, and he seemed to be grinning maliciously. That's the word I'm looking for. He maliciously grinned at her. Frightened, Brittany pulled the fuzzy blanket over her head and tried to hide. She hardly dared to move. You'll find out that's stupid. Slowly, she pulled the cover from aside, and just enough to peer out from one eye. The man was still there. He was just standing there, staring directly at her as the snow was falling behind him. Then he reached into his coat and pulled out something. It was a long knife. Terrified, Brittany pulled the blanket back over her head and hoped the madman would think that it was just a pile of blankets sitting on the sofa. She managed to move her hand slowly over her pocket, grab her phone, and dial the police. When the operator said, "What's your emergency?" Brittany pulled it close to her face and whispered, "There's a man outside my window. He's got a knife. Please come quickly." She sat motionlessly under the blanket, and minutes ticked by. Eventually, she heard the sirens outside. Brittany pulled off the blanket and rushed to the front door, letting the police officers in. They said they had seen no tracks outside their house. She's like, "He was here," pointed to the window covered in snow. "That's not possible. There couldn't have been anyone standing out there. The snow is completely undisturbed. If someone had been there would have been footprints." But he was staring at me with his eyes, staring straight at me. I saw him with my eyes. "You know, your eyes could have been playing tricks on you," one of the officers said. "Maybe you've been watching too many scary movies." The officer turned to leave, but then all of a sudden the female officer stopped dead in her tracks. She pulled back the sofa that Brittany had been standing on, and her jaw dropped, and her eyes widened, and Brittany and the male officer gasped. On the carpet behind the sofa, there was a trail of wet footprints and a discarded knife. You weren't looking at the man from outside the window. You were looking at the man's reflection. He was standing right behind you. So her pulling those blankets over her head was the stupidest thing she could have done. If I think I see someone outside, I will look behind me first. I know I would. But if she turned around, do you think he would have killed her immediately? I mean,
is it gonna be like the one when the people thought it was a window, but
there was a story about the babysitter, and she's babysitting this girl, and the babysitter's name is Jessica. And she looks into this window downstairs, and there's like another girl down there. And the girl ends up going upstairs and killing the other one after going through the window. And the mom comes back. She's like, "No way in hell, that's not possible." Because we only have a mirror downstairs. And it ends up the girl was in the mirror, not in a window. So, yeah.
Inside or behind?
Inside. Who puts a mirror outside the basement? Who does that? Does anyone actually do that?
And then that wouldn't be like me.
I don't think that makes sense.
That's it or no?
It's actually cans and it's not sugar-free. She left it in here. I stole it from her. And if you're watching this, can, ha!
Okay. She's playing BitLife.
She's playing BitLife? How dare she play BitLife when
and
we're
what
watching?
do you do?
Do what? What are we doing? Oh, do what? But I mean, putting a mirror outside your basement. Because the story of the babysitter is the girl is in the mirror, not outside a window. And this one goes, what if the mirror was outside the basement? Which doesn't make sense. It was inside. So, and I asked, does anyone actually put a mirror outside? So would anyone put their mirror outside their basement? I mean, unless you don't want people going near your basement and you have a window. Be like, "Hey, you see yourself. Does it scare you?"
You have the dots.
Dots?
Yep.
Dots as in dot stickers. Okay. This one says it's good stories.
It did about the poop one, did it?
Was anyone watching this yesterday when we were watching the scary stories? And there was one about the poop in the bathroom. I told my mom and dad and then my sisters, today, and my mom lost it. My mom could not stop laughing, and we all almost died laughing over that story.
I want you
It was
to
super
do
funny. I'll do that later. I don't have the patience to do the dots right now. Okay, so this first good story
this.
is,
You have a lot up in here.
yeah, they're for different videos. Okay. It's called The Old Television. These are supposed to be good stories. Remember, quotations, good stories, because they might be dumb. A few years ago in a small town in Spain, ooh, we start in Spain, there was a married couple who had not six. They had a 6-year-old boy. I forgot why I'm saying six. I think they're thinking 6 kids. My parents have 6 kids. There's 6 of us girls. There was an old television in their son's bedroom, and every night when he went to bed, he would insist on covering it with a blanket. Why don't you take the television out of the boys' room? His parents noticed this odd behavior, and one day, out of curiosity, they asked him, "Son, why do you always cover the TV with a blanket?" The boy gave them a strange look and replied cryptically, "Because that's how they get in." His parents were confused and dismissed it as childish superstitions. Hi.
Do you have headphones I can steal?
Look at these ones. I know Lillian has unicorns, so you can ask her. If you're looking for her box is in there. I got upset with the box being out. So you're going to have to move a couple things from the closet. Okay, so one night they went out to a theater and hired a babysitter to babysit their kid. Okay, so the parents went out, which is not what that said. But while they were away, after the play finished, the parents went to a bar for a drink and then returned home after midnight. To their surprise, they found the babysitter collapsed at the bottom of the stairs. What? Crying hysterically, and when they asked her what happened, she looked up at them in terror in her eyes and said they took him away. The parents ran upstairs, and when they got to the boys' room, they were horrified. The son was nowhere to be found. There was a trail of blood leading to the television. Wow. That escalated. My sister has a television. I should tell her to cover it with a blanket. Actually, no. That's creepy. What would have happened? Okay. A trail of blood to the TV. Okay. My sisters. This has nothing to do with blood, but this is funny. Let me close this. Ugh! Almost fell. Okay, so my sisters would play this game and they called it TV. So May would do these little fake commercials. And she would grab a pillow. She'd be like, "I like pillows. Do you like them too?" And she would repeat that on end and until someone answered. So Kansas would answer, "I like pillows. What's it to you?" And May would pretend that she crawls out of the TV and she would attack Can with her pillows by having a pillow fight. And it was always funny because our little fake TV was at the edge of Can's bunk bed. So she would jump on the bunk bed and Kansas would roll her over and she'd fall off to the side and we'd have a pile of blankets sitting there. It was always the same outcome every time, but it was super funny. That was hilarious. That's all that reminded me of. I don't hate when people don't close the door, but I do it to them too, just to annoy them. But we're all sisters. It's what we do. They don't close my door. I don't close theirs. I actually once May didn't close my door on her way out. So I went out, went into her room, and I walked into Can's room. I'm all like, "Hey, what are you doing?" She's all like, "Nothing." So I walked out, closed Can's door. May's all like, "Door." I walked away. And then I closed my door. She walks back into my room and goes, "Why didn't you close my door?" I'm like, "Why didn't you close my door?" She's like, "Touche." That was funny. Okay. What's this next story? This one's how to write a good story. Okay. This one's literally the title of the stories. Okay. There was a girl who liked to write scary stories. She had a scary website where she would publish her stories so that people in her class could read them. One day she made up a story and published it to her website, claiming it was a true story. The story went like this. There was a park, and if you went there, you would see a boy who was always playing on his own. There's a lot of stories about kids playing in the park on their own. Okay. He would say to you, let's play together. If you answered yes, he would kill you. But if you answered no, you could go home safe. That's dark. The story quickly spread among the school kids. And one day, the girl actually went to the park she described in her story and saw the boy playing there. The boy said, let's play together. The girl thought nothing of it and then casually said, yes. And then the girl dies. Okay? So, you see a boy in the park, don't talk to them. Unless you know them personally. Don't talk to strangers. Why the hell was she talking to a stranger? And how did she make up that story? I want to know that. How did she make that up? Okay, this one's called The Fatal Accident or Which is Which. There was a 20-year-old girl who lived with her boyfriend. They lived together and was a perfect, ideal couple. They both hoped that nothing would ever change. Each time they embraced each other, she told her boyfriend that she could not live without him. He assured her he felt the same way. They were madly in love. One Saturday night, wow, that's specific, Saturday night. As every Saturday night, they went out to a nightclub to celebrate the birthday of a friend. How many friends you got that have birthdays on a Saturday? That's not weird or anything. While they were there, they drank too much alcohol. Don't do that. Don't drink too much. Wait. I thought she was 20. 20 is not 21. Wait, how old is this boyfriend? I don't care if she's 20. You need to be 21 to drink. It's still underage. Undered. Yeah, that's a word. Underage drinking. Well, in certain places, I guess. No, unless it's somewhere different, everyone has different standards for the age limit of drinking alcohol. Yeah. So unless they're in Australia, like you said, I just read your comment. The legal age is 18. Unless they're in Australia. But I mean, they don't say where they are. Here in Maine, it's 21. And you need to be 21 before you can purchase alcohol or cigarettes. And before you can consume either, you need to be 21. So most places it's 21. But they might be in Australia. But if not, they're promoting underage drinking, which is not okay. It's not okay to drink at all. Drinking is bad for you. Besides the point, that's a different topic. Yeah, they might be in a different country. Ooh. No, but drinking is still not good for you. That doesn't matter anyway. That's not the point of this story. They drank too much alcohol. That's the importance. They returned home very late and they were eager to get to bed. They took a shortcut and drove at a high speed. Now they're promoting drunk driving? Don't drive while you're drunk. That never ends up well. The next morning, when they woke up, they both felt like something about their relationship had changed. Their mutual understanding was somehow different. They no longer spoke, they no longer kissed, and in the short, they basically ignored each other. That evening, they both found themselves watching TV together. The news came on, and there was a story about a fatal car crash that had happened the night before. I just skipped through and skimmed that. That's not what I meant to do. The newsreader said that one of the victims had died and one had survived. Yeah, they started taking a taxi. When the pictures of the two victims flashed up, the girl and the boyfriend were horrified. They were sitting there staring at their own faces. But the most terrifying thing was that there was one question that remained. Which one was a ghost? Which one was a ghost? That's all the most important. Which one's dead? One of them survived, one of them is dead. It could be either way. But yeah. This next one's called Have You Seen My Son? Perfect. So let's read this one. So a frantic mother asked, Have you seen my son? An old man who lived next door shook his head. The mother knocked on every door. Oh, you has a theory? What is your theory? I want to know your theory. I'm going to keep reading the story. I do want to hear the theory. You forgot. Oh, no. Okay. The mother knocks on every door on the street and goes, Have you seen my son? None of the neighbors have seen the boy. Okay, you remember? That's good. I want to know the theory. The mother went to the police station and asked the officer behind the desk, Have you seen my son? The police organized a search for a missing boy. They got a recent picture of him from his mother and circulated it. And they made an announcement on television and radio asking for information. They searched houses, poked through alleys, combed fields, and went through rivers, but there was no sign of this child. Each morning, the mother left the house, put up posters all around the town. Each one had a picture of the little boy on it, had the caption reading, Have you seen my son? Once a week, the mother would go down to the police station and ask them, Have you seen my son? Each time, the officer would sigh and shake his head sadly and say, I'm sorry, ma'am, not yet. Each time the mother walked home with a smile on their face, they never found out. They never would find her son. She had his body hidden well. Why did she kill her son? Sicko. Sick woman. She killed her son. Or he's alive and she hid him. But they say she had hidden his body well. She killed him. She killed him. That's the only theory. She killed him. Okay, so I'm going to read this comment. So one person is dead, the other is alive. Or the alive person's in a coma and has a dream about getting home normally. In their sleep, they heard about the other person dying, so the brain used it into their dream. That's why they barely talk. That makes so much sense. That does make so much sense. I mean, if you got in a car crash and got into a coma, your brain is frantic, for one. That would make sense. And if they overheard someone saying the other one died, they would put it into their brain and be like, the relationship's changing, and put it into a dream state. That makes sense. I've heard so many stories to do that, and I don't know why I didn't think of that. That is a really good theory. That might actually, that's a good theory. Not gonna lie. Okay, this next story is called Camping in the Forest. There are 4 friends, 2 boys, 2 girls. Okay. Let's keep note of that. There are 2 boys and 2 girls who decided to go camping in the forest. When they got into the campground, which was near the high rest stop, they unloaded their camping gear and set up tents. After singing some songs and telling some scary stories around the campfire, they felt tired and wanted to go to sleep. In the middle of the night, one of the girls woke up and wanted to go to the bathroom. The horror stories they had been telling around the campfire made her too scared to go to the toilet in the woods. Instead, she decided it would be safer to walk back to the rest stop on the highway and use the public toilet there. 1, don't walk alone. Take a friend. You're safer in number. An hour later, when the girl still hadn't returned, her friends became worried. Another hour passed with no sign of her coming back. Her friends decided to go looking for her. When they got to the rest stop, they opened the door and screamed in horror. They went back to the toilet. The girl was sitting there on the toilet and had a wooden stake impaled through her stomach. A bathroom killing. That's a first. At least it's not a bathroom story like yesterday's and someone's smearing crap everywhere. I mean, got a 1-up. But still, don't go alone. It's not safe. When we go camping and we need to go to the bathroom, usually there's a bathroom, we go in groups of 2 or 3. Never one. Our mom tried to go once by herself, and Kansas woke up and was all like, oh, no, you don't. So we travel in groups of 2 or more. Okay. So this next story is called The Bouncing Ball. Great. If there's a bouncing ball in your house moving by itself, it is time to move. Just from every movie I've seen. Bouncy balls, ghost children, time to move. Okay. There was a babysitter who was hired to take care of a little girl. That night, after the parents left, the babysitter allowed the girl to watch a horror movie. Why would you let a little kid watch a horror movie? Okay. I was all like, kangaroos are your food. Oh my gosh, a kangaroo. Why would you eat a kangaroo? But kangaroo ate your food. That's actually kind of funny. That's really funny. Okay. So, 1, don't let a little kid watch scary movies before bed. They're going to get scared. I watched a scary movie with Safi once before she went to bed. Nothing happened. She doesn't get scared easily. Nessa hates scary things. She won't watch it with us. If we watch scary stuff, she'll throw her cups at us. But she's 2. Okay, so halfway through the movie, the little girl said she wanted to go to the toilet, but she was too scared to go on her own. The babysitter didn't want to miss the movie, so she came up with a solution. She gave the girl a rubber ball and told her to keep bouncing it while she was on the toilet. That way the babysitter would know she was okay. The girl did and said that the little girl did what she was told, and the babysitter listened to her high-pitched singing, bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. Oh my word. Have any of you watched Bad Boy Halo or Dream? Because there's this one where they're doing speed run manhunt, and it's, I think, 4 hunters. And Bad Boy Halo's going bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. And George is all like, why are you saying it? Because I can. And it's all like bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. That's all that reminds me of. It's Bad Boy Halo, and I find that super funny. I find something funny in every scary movie or scary story in this case. Half an hour later, the babysitter started to wonder why the girl didn't come back. But she heard the singing coming from the toilet, bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. But now the girl's voice seemed deeper. A deep little girl voice? The babysitter reluctantly got off the sofa and went to check to see if everything was okay. When she opened the bathroom door, the babysitter was horrified to find a mental patient sitting on the floor with the little girl's head on the ground singing bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. You couldn't just take the girl to the bathroom. How'd that guy get in the bathroom? I want to know, was there a window in that bathroom? We have a window in our bathroom that we always keep a curtain in. But our bathroom is on, basically it's a 2nd floor.
Hey.
You couldn't just walk the girl to the bathroom. I'm good. Nasty boys. That's kind of funny. Okay. I'm going to find more stories.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about this story. There was a dude in the bathroom with the little girl and cut off her head.
Did we already read that one before?
No, there's a lot of stories based off of the same thing. We might have. This one's called Short Stories.
Wait, like, what happened?
Babysitter and a girl are watching a scary movie. Halfway through the movie, the little girl has to go to the bathroom. The babysitter doesn't want to get up with her. Gives her a ball and says to bounce the ball so she knows she's okay. Half an hour passes. She still hears the girl singing bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. But the girl's voice seems to get deeper. She walks in there. There's a mental patient in there with the little girl's head on the floor singing bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. I scarred my sister for life. My job is done. Okay. This is called Short Stories. But these are like one-word stories. One-line stories. Okay. This one says, my daughter cries and screams at night. Every time I visit her grave, I ask her to stop, but she won't listen. That's mean. That's mean. It's not even funny. That's mean. It's not even scary. It's mean.
That didn't mean one
Okay.
time.
It's not my thing. Okay, lying in bed unable to sleep, I blink my eyes and notice a message written on the bedroom door. And it reads, I know you're awake. I read a story that was based off a sentence like that. A little boy is sleeping in his room and he sees a man in his doorway and he pretends to still be asleep. And the guy writes in blood, which is the blood, I think, from his parents because he killed him. And he's all like, I know you're awake. Super creepy. Oh my word, this seems like something that would be in, was it Jigsaw? I can't remember what the movie is.
Dear Johnny.
No, that's The Shining. But this one goes, would you like some milk in your coffee? Asks an old woman as she opens the door. I catch a glimpse of something that looks like a human head. What is that? There's this movie called Child's Play. It's the remake of the 1980s one. It came out 2019, where they have the head of someone and they hide it on top of a watermelon. Johnny. Okay, and they hide it on a watermelon and they wrap it like a present, and he accidentally gives it to his neighbor because he tells his mom that it's for the neighbor. And then they end up throwing it away and they find it and they assume he killed the man. I think
The victim! Really, you read.
It's red because you have a marker. She's a weirdo.
This is not fake.
That one is mean. I don't want to read that one. It says, eat your cookie. An old man screamed at a little boy, eat your cookie or I will get rid of you. The boy's puppy's name was Cookie. He killed the dog and was feeding it to the child. That's sick. Okay. Well, these are supposed to be short.
Was the boy named Johnny?
No. Doesn't even say what the boy's name is. You want to call him Johnny, call him Johnny. I know. This one says you're on the toilet and you go to wipe and you feel something grab your wrist and pull your hand into the toilet bowl. I don't know why I said it like that. You struggle and manage to get out free, jump off the toilet. You turn to look, but there's poop on your hand. What is with the stories having to be about poo? Just reminded me of yesterday's story. Okay. That's stupid. Those are stupid. Okay, I want to find more scary stories like that. Eat the poo. What the hell does that mean? Don't encourage.
Nasty.
That's from the kid. This old man yelling at a kid and telling him to eat his dog. This one says true scary stories. I don't think I've read true scary stories.
You said more true.
I've told true scary stories. I haven't read them off of here. This one's called The Lemonade Stand. The Lemonade Stand is about two boys who sell lemonade by the side of a road when they encounter a strange couple in a rusty old car. Okay, so this person grew up in a small town in Montana, and during the summer, their brother and them would sometimes sell lemonade on the side of the road. They didn't make a lot of money, but they had fun selling the lemonade to anyone who was passing by. One hot afternoon, the brother and him were standing at their lemonade stand when they noticed an old rusty car pass by 2 or 3 times. At the time, it was struck them as a little creepy. I mean, teachers are good at telling scary stories. They like to scare children. Child, you can't even close our door. never closes my door. None of them like to close the door. Just gonna walk back in here and just gonna leave the door open. Okay. Afternoon, car went by 2 or 3 times, struck him as weird. Eventually, the car slowed down and stopped right in front of their stand. There was a woman in the passenger seat, and as she rolled the window down, they saw a really skinny man with gray hair that was stained a sickly yellow. Ew! Ew! This is gross! Okay, they couldn't see the man who was driving very well. He never looked at them. But they both seemed very odd and their clothes were old and dirty. You boys are selling lemonade by yourself? Yeah, our mom lets us. Is your mom home? Yeah, she's in the house. The woman turned and looked at the man driving. He nodded and they stared straight ahead. The woman turned back and said, okay, I'll have lemonade. That'll be 25 cents. Door! Fine, leave. I don't care. She pulled out a $5 bill and handed it to him, and a chill went down their spine. Why was she handing a $5 bill if she had coins in her purse? Something didn't feel right. I don't have change. You can keep the change, she said. Just come take it. Something felt off. $5 is a lot of money to hand a kid. As they walked up to the car, never walk up to a car. If they're telling you to come grab something from their hands and they're in a car, you'd be like, no. You get out of your car, walk over here, you hand it to me. I'm not going to walk up to your car. They said they remember their singing teacher telling them a scary story and ended up falling on the floor. Dude. Don't walk up to strangers' cars. They screamed out there. Oh, wait. No. They walked up, tried to grab it, and the woman grabbed them by the wrist and started pulling them into the car. Creepy woman. It's creepy if they're going to stop in their car and not get out. They screamed at the top of their lungs. Their brother ran into the house yelling for help. The man floored the accelerator. Do not play that. Give me the pitch tuner thing. Give. That is an annoying noise. Anyway, hit the acceleration, and they fought with all their might and managed to free themselves from her grasp. The car stopped and the man got out, but they were already running for their life. The brother was pounding on the door and screaming. The mother rushed out and turned just in time to see the rusty old car speeding away. When they told their mom what had happened, she called the police. When the brother and the brothers looked calmed down, and they went back to the lemonade stand, there was a $5 bill lying on the ground. They picked up the lemonade stand and put it away for good. That's sad. You scared kids into not wanting to sell lemonade. But I mean, why wasn't the mom out there watching them? I mean, I get you want to trust your kids, but other people are not trustworthy with your kids. Especially if they're selling lemonade to strangers. You never know. This one, it's not the one I wanted to click on.
Rosalie Avery?
No, I clicked on the same story. This one's called Try to Smile. I'll read this. Try to Smile is a scary true story about an English teacher in Japan who may be living in a haunted apartment. Ooh, haunted apartments. What you just do?
Oh no.
She's a weirdo. Okay. They tell us in first person. I don't read anything in first person. It's weird. But in order for this story to make sense, I have to. I lived in Japan for 2 years. And way out into the island of Kyushu. If May watches this, she's going to kill me. Not really. She's going to get very upset that I can't pronounce any of these. But, it's a rural town.
Do you still want to go to Japan?
No.
Why?
No, I just don't. I now want to go to Canada.
Me too.
I know May does, and I thought that was super funny. They were teaching English there, and they lived in an apartment complex with 9 other English teachers and a handful of Japanese families. All the apartments were 2-story townhouse styles of apartments. Their apartment was the newest of the bunch. Before them, they had another English teacher who lived there for 2 years, but before her, as far as they had been told, the apartment had been completely empty. They moved in at the beginning of August, which was brutally hot and humid in Japan. It was so humid that the wallpaper in her apartment got wet and started to curl up. Oh my word, that's terrible. The only air conditioning in the apartment was downstairs and the bedrooms were upstairs. It was truly unpleasant, and they ended up sleeping downstairs to abode to avoid smoldering.
Hey, look, you
In
got
the
me
heat of their bedroom.
red-handed.
She's murdering markers. And this is how it started. One day they came home from school to find their back door open, and it was a sliding glass door. And before they left for school, they had securely bolted it. They locked the front door as well. At first, they thought someone broke in, but nothing had been taken. Not a single thing out of place. Doesn't mean someone didn't break in. One of the neighbors came over and looked everywhere for them, but they found nothing. What'd you find hilarious?
What?
I'm talking, dude. Oh, so spot. Neighbor looked everywhere for them, didn't find nothing strange. At that time, they thought it was no big deal. Probably it was just some curious Japanese kids. Why can't you just say kids? Because we know you're in Japan, therefore they are Japanese children. But you don't need to constantly be like, Japanese this, Japanese that. Be like, this. Children, families. It just saves time. Who thought it'd be fun to break in and look at what a foreigner's house was like? That night, they were downstairs and they laid down on a futon to go to sleep. All of a sudden, they heard footsteps upstairs. At first, it sounded like someone pacing back and forth between the two bedrooms. Was my sister May there? She paces back and forth all the time. And then they suddenly stopped. At this point, they were... Yeah. I thought I was reading the same part again, but I'm not. At this point, they were lying on their futon, shaking and holding their breath. They were terrified that whoever broke in earlier would manage to hide upstairs in the crawl space. There's a crawl space in your house, and no one was like, let's check out the crawl space. Is this the grudge? Is she gonna, or he or she gonna grudge style come down your stairs and get you?
Why does that have so many oranges?
I don't know why you have so many oranges. Footsteps upstairs, crawl space. After a minute of silence, they heard an incredibly loud bang, and they thought it was something huge and heavy had fallen and hit the floor.
I'll give you mine. These are yours.
I don't care. I think mine are downstairs. They ran out of their apartment into their neighbor's house and convinced the neighbor to come back, and they searched upstairs but found nothing. You're willing to put your neighbors in danger, but you won't call the police? The police can't do anything? I mean, technically you put the police in danger too, but it's their job to protect people. I mean, if your neighbors are nice, they can come and help you. But
I moved.
I hate that sound. Okay. One night, they were at a local bar with one of the other English teachers who had been living there for about 5 years. They started telling about the strange things that happened in their apartment and how they hadn't been able to sleep because of it. Well, there's a reason for that. Before you, there was another teacher in the apartment. But before her, the apartment was empty. Door! Sisters. She never closes the door. Ever. Okay. There's no one before her. Because a woman got rid of herself upstairs after her husband left her. That is horribly sad. People wouldn't rent the place because they thought the place was cursed, so it was empty until the Board of Education decided to rent it out to foreign teachers. At that time, they thought he was making up things to try and scare her. But one day they asked their boss about it, and he immediately turned as pale as a ghost. He said that the other teachers shouldn't have told them that and tried to press him for more information, but he neither confirmed or denied what the man said. One day, while cleaning her apartment, they noticed the underside of the windowsill. Someone had carved the words, "Try to smile," in Japanese. About 10 times. When they saw it, their blood literally ran cold. They still don't know what actually happened in the apartment, but every night during the summer, until they would start sleeping upstairs again, the noises happened without fail. Confused. Why just when they slept upstairs would they watch them sleep? Did it make them happy to watch them sleep? And if so, why didn't they come downstairs? I doubt that's it. But okay, I guess. So they do that. That's fine. Oh, this one's called Cute Guy. Let's read this one. This should be fun. When this person was in high school, they were really native, sheltered teenager. They were naive. I thought it said native. It says naive. That's bad reading on my part. Naive and sheltered teenager. They lived in a really close community where there was never any crime. Never. Probably wasn't. They just didn't know it. There was a married couple who moved in down the block. The guy's probably a murderer. Probably. Most of the cute guys in stories are the murderers. Or they end up getting killed off first. They had 2 boys. One was the same age as them, and the other was 2 years older. There was no nice way to put it, but the boy who was around her age was ugly. He looked like a sloth, Sloth from the Goonies. Can you? Looking it up. I'm not the only one that looks it up. Oh, that's mean. Okay. So, they're just basically calling this boy ugly, which no one is truly ugly. However, the older brother was a really cute guy, and they mean he looked like a model. They sat next to Sloth. Is that the name of that person? Is that even their name? Or are you just... Okay. One day they were sitting beside him in class, and they started making minimal chit chat to him. He looked straight into her eyes and said, "You better watch out. My older brother likes you." And the last girl he liked, for some reason, had to move. They were so shocked by this, and they didn't know why he would say that. He made it sound like it was so grave and serious, and that's all he said to him. Yeah. Love that comment. Everyone is beautiful. You shouldn't let anyone else tell you otherwise. I say that a lot, actually, in real life. I don't usually say it on camera because I never need to say it unless someone is called ugly in a story, and then it upsets me because I don't think anyone's ugly. So they were shocked he said this, and a few weeks later, their parents went out shopping and they were left home alone. It was nighttime, and all of a sudden, they heard the doorbell ring. Do people go shopping at night? We go in the day, but also, depending on the day. Our dad works nights, so we do most of our shopping and everything in the day on Fridays. So, you know, we rarely go shopping at night unless it's like winter like it is now, and we go somewhere and it's usually around 4 o'clock because 4:30 gets dark. Your parents go shopping at night? Mine don't. Mine rarely do. My mom hates the dark, and my dad doesn't like the dark either. Even though he works at night. He doesn't like driving in the night or walking to stores at night. You never know who's out there to just be a creep.
No, we don't know it.
You scared me. I'm not even gonna lie. No, I don't know where the remote is. Dude,
What?
that's annoying. Okay, so can you close the door at least so I can finish this? They heard the doorbell ring. When they answered the door, there was nobody there. Huh, funny. Remind her to close the door when she goes out. Okay. They found a small envelope with her name on it. Can know you're using that?
Why would you do?
Because it's hers.
Why?
Okay. Well, anyway, they opened it, and the contents of the envelope were disturbing. It was a long poem about being attacked by a man in a cape who snuck up on him, knocked him out with chloroform. I have a funny story about chloroform. Give me a minute. And then tied him up and brought him back to his basement where he did unspeakable things. Hey, she closed the door on her own. Okay, before I finish this funny story about chloroform, we were a couple years ago, me and Kim were reading these stories for school. And this one is about this very large family. And this aunt would leave all her stuff, her money and her belongings and everything expensive outside her door. And she always left a note saying, she was afraid of robbers. And it would be, robbers, this is all I have. For this is all I have, please do not use your chloroform. And that part, me and Ken could not stop up. It's funny. For some reason, she's afraid of robbers, so she puts everything outside her door. It's all like, robbers, please take everything here, for this is all I have. Please do not use your chloroform. I don't know why that part was so funny to us, but it was. Okay, so the rest of this goes, they thought it must be one of their friends pulling a prank on them. So they called their friend on the phone and told her, you got me. The poem was super creepy, and you really freaked me out. And the girl had no idea what they were talking about. All of a sudden, while they were on the phone with her, they heard a bang against the back door. It was soft at first, but gradually got louder and louder, and it kept on going. Then the banging suddenly stopped. Everything was silent. They were still convinced it must be one of their friends playing a trick, so they peeked out the kitchen window and couldn't see anyone. They were still on the phone with their friend. She was yelling at them to call the police. I did the same thing. Call the police. Police can help you. Just then the doorbell rang again. They got creeped out. They creeped down the hall, pressed themselves up against the door, and peeked through the peephole. No one was there. But they could make out a large black lump on the front porch. They couldn't see what it was. So they flicked the switch on the porch light, but it didn't come on. At this point, they were scared, and they thought they were about to have a heart attack. Their friends convinced them to hang up and call the police. A few minutes later, a squad car came and they looked out the window. Against the street, under a street lamp, they saw the older brother, the cute guy. He was standing there smoking a cigarette and watching the house. The police questioned him, and they saw him being searched by the police. The police had to tackle him to the ground, eventually managed to get handcuffs on him. When they searched him, they found a lot of things: a light bulb from the porch, a jar of chloroform, a length of rope, and a bloody knife. It was bloody because the black lump on the porch was the next door neighbor's cat he killed and carved their name into. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Aww. So the older brother was a really cute guy, but he was mentally disturbed. He was really crazy, and his parents didn't care. The younger brother tried to warn her, and they felt bad for calling him Sloth. But he turned out to be one of the smartest and nicest guys in school, and to think he gave her such a cryptic warning, he was afraid of his older brother, and he was scared that his brother would find out and hurt him. And they felt so terrible for the next door neighbor's cat. I feel so bad for the next door neighbor cat. Animals are family. That one is really dark. Cute guy was psycho. I don't understand that. It's the cute guys have to be psychos. Okay. So let's see. If you'll load. This one's called The Fourth Floor. This is a true story. True story. I don't know how much of these are true. I don't think they're true at all. Because they're scary stories. But is about a young man who had a chilling experience when he takes an elevator in an old building and it stops on the wrong floor. I hate elevators. I would never take an elevator. That makes it just more creepy. One evening, this person was looking for an internet cafe, but because they needed to send a few emails, and they spotted one in an old building. The sign said it was on the 6th floor. When they got to the entrance, they saw a dark hallway that led to a small elevator. They pressed the call button, and when it opened, they stepped inside. There's a dark hallway with an elevator at the end. Don't go into it. It's most likely creepy. In a lot of Asian countries, many buildings do not have a 4th floor. The number 4 is considered bad luck because the word 4 sounds almost the same as the word. It's the same word for death. Okay. Apparently 4 means death. So the buttons in the elevator were 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. They pressed the button for the 6th floor and the door closed and began to ascend. When it stopped and they stepped out, they realized that something was wrong. The hallway was totally dark and there was one light illuminating the elevator. The elevator light was the only light lighting up that room. So just then, they noticed something moving at the end of the darkened hallway. They couldn't make out quite what it was, but it looked like a person dressed in some type of gown. Get in the elevator, run away. Okay, the figure moved slowly down the hallway towards the elevator. It creeped them out and put them into a panic, and they started to press the close button on the door. All of a sudden, the light of the elevator flicked off. They were plunged into a pit of darkness, and they were so freaked out they could have almost wet themselves. It's literally what it says. Just as they were about to completely lose it, the lights flickered back on and the doors closed, and the elevator jolted back to life and began to ascend again. They breathed a sigh of relief. When the doors opened this time, it was the internet cafe. They went over to the counter and told the girl who worked there what happened. As she listened, her face grew pale. She said that some customers had and a few co-workers had experienced similar. She had never experienced anything herself. She was told about it from the history of the building. Apparently, the 4th floor had been a hair salon. It was prospering business until one woman who worked there got rid of herself in the salon. Nobody knew the reason why. Oh, blah, blah, blah. I'm not reading the detailed death. The salon continued to operate, but they were plagued by weird and unexplainable events. Sometimes when the customers were having their hair washed, the water would turn as red as blood. Other people claimed that they looked in the mirror and they watched a glimpse of the ghost figure standing behind them. When they turned around, there'd be no one there. Because of these events, the salon developed a bad reputation and began to lose customers. Eventually, they were forced to close down. The building's owners turned to rent the fourth floor of the building. This led to a series of mysterious events after they started to renovate it. The workmen's tools somehow would disappear, only to be found in strange places. A large mirror suddenly shattered when no one was near it, and a worker had his hand crushed when the elevator door closed on him unexpectedly. Eventually, the workmen were spooked and refused to continue working for the businessman and left. The building's owner gave up trying to rent the 4th floor and just shut it down. He had the button in the elevator replaced and reprogrammed it so that no one could go to the 4th floor. At least that was what's supposed to happen. For some reason, when people took the elevator, it seemed to stop on the 4th floor, and when the doors would open, some people would see a figure coming towards them in the darkness. Yeah, that place is definitely haunted. Okay, so I'm going to leave this video here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I will see you guys in the wrong mouse. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!